There comes a year when a body starts to notice its own legs, a hand reaching for the arm of the chair before you stand, a pause at the foot of the stairs gathering yourself, and a slower walk across the barnyard than you remember. You are likely told, without anyone quite saying the words, that this is the road now, and it runs only the one way, downhill from here. But that is not the truth of it. A body keeps the power to build its muscle back for a whole life, even at 70, even after the legs have gone shaky under you. My name is Noah Yoder. I farm a piece of ground in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, in a farmhouse my grandfather built with his own hands, and my wife Ruth and I have worked this land long enough to have watched a great many bodies age, our own among them. Before I say anything else, hear the plain part. I am not a doctor, never have claimed to be one, and I will point you toward one before this is over. What I have is a lifetime of watching how bodies that keep working hold on to their strength, and how bodies that sit down for good tend to lose it. And I have something else besides. I have gone looking at what the researchers found when they put the old farm wisdom to a careful test. Some of what they found will surprise you. Some of it confirms what the old people knew in their hands without ever writing it down. My promise to you is bigger than the one you are It is one thing to keep the leg strength you still have. It is another thing entirely to grow back what has already slipped away from you. That second thing, the growing back, is what I am promising, and I would not put it to you so plainly without something solid to stand it on. I want to give you the thing that convinced me, so you are not just taking a farmer's word for it. Some years back, a group of researchers went into a nursing home and found the frailest people there. Before those folks did a lick of exercise, the researchers measured just how weak they were, and they turned up something worth holding on to. The weaker a person's legs tested, the slower that person walked. Leg strength and walking went hand in hand. Hold on to that, because it means the walking gets better when the strength does. 10 of them, all right around 90 years old, and the oldest one was 96. These were not spry folks who had kept themselves up. These were people who leaned on walkers, who had trouble crossing a room, the very picture of what we all fear becoming. And the researchers did something that sounds almost unkind at first. They had these 90-year-olds do real leg work, not a gentle stroll. Actual weight on the legs, the muscle pushing hard against a load, the way you would lift a heavy pail or press yourself up out of a low seat. They did it for 8 weeks. 8 weeks is nothing. It is the time between planting and the first real picking. And here is what happened to those frail, ancient legs. Their leg strength did not creep up a little. On average, it more than doubled. It rose by more than 170%. The muscle in their thighs, muscle everyone assumed was gone for good, grew back measurably, thicker than before, and their walking, that slow and careful shuffle, sped up by nearly half. In bodies of 96 years, that is worth stopping on, because it undoes something nearly everyone believes. We tell ourselves the machinery wears out and shuts off, that past a certain age, the body simply cannot answer anymore. Those plain numbers say otherwise. The machinery that answers to honest work does not shut off with age. It goes quiet when it is not asked. Ask it, and it answers, even in a body that has counted 90 winters. So the story you were told about your own 60-something legs was never the whole story. So let me back up and explain how those legs got weak in the first place, because you cannot rebuild a thing well until you understand how it came apart. Starting somewhere around 30, a body begins to lose a little muscle each year, without asking permission. Across a decade, it comes to somewhere between 3 and 8% of the muscle gone, and after 60, that loss tends to pick up its pace. That part alone is not the trouble. The trouble is what rides alongside it. Your raw strength, the actual force your legs can put out, fades even faster than the muscle itself does. The researchers who measured both in the same people found strength slipping away 2 to 5 times faster than size. You can lose real power off your legs while they still look near enough the same in the mirror. And it turns out that fading strength is a truer warning of hard days ahead than the shrinking size ever was. Now, why does it happen? There is a good deal of talk about hormones and such, and some of that is real, but I want to point you at the one cause you can actually put your hands on: disuse. A muscle that is not asked to work wastes, and it wastes fast, at any age at all. You have seen it plain as day if you have ever known someone who broke a leg. 6 weeks in a cast, and the limb comes out thinner and weaker than its mate in a strong young person, in no time flat. That is not old age doing that. That is disuse doing that. And a body that sits in a soft chair most of the day, kind and comfortable as that feels, is doing a slower, gentler version of the same thing to its own legs. The old saying has it right: use it or lose it. But the old saying stops one word too soon, and that missing word is the whole reason I'm talking to you. Use it and rebuild it. Both halves are true. The same door that lets the strength drain out is the door you push strength back in through. Which brings me to the heart of this, the one plain habit that the whole rest of this talk hangs on. It is free. There is no gym in it, no weights, no getting down on the floor, no special anything. It is a chair. And the habit is this: you rise up out of that chair and onto your feet without pushing off with your hands, arms folded or resting easy in your lap, and you stand using nothing but your legs. That is it. That simple thing is two different tools in one, and that is why I keep coming back to it. It is the finest free leg rebuilder a person your age has. When you stand without your arms, the big muscles across the front of your thighs and down through your seat have to do the whole job of lifting your body's weight against the pull of the ground. That is real work under a real load, which is exactly the thing those 90-year-olds did to grow new muscle. You are lifting the one weight you will always have with you, which is you. Do a set of them. Sit down slow with control. Stand again. Several rounds, a few times through the day, and you are giving your legs the honest ask that calls new strength back. And it is the second tool at the very same time. It is the plain and honest test of where your legs truly stand today. There is no fooling it. Either you can rise without your hands, or you cannot yet. And that tells you something square and true that no mirror will. Here is the part that always stops people, myself included. The old farm folks were doing this movement 100 times a day and never once gave it a name. Rising off the milking stool, standing up out of the garden row, coming up off a low bucket in the barn, squatting down to your work and rising back up under your own power, over and over, dawn to dark. They never called it exercise. They would have laughed at the word. It was simply the shape of a working life, and that shape was keeping their legs strong into old age without a soul planning it that way. We built the squat and the rise right out of modern living. Now we have to put it back in on purpose. That is the whole of it. But this humble little motion carries far more weight than it looks like it should, and I want to show you why. Because how well you can rise from a chair turns out to be one of the plainest windows we have into how a body is faring overall. Researchers have timed a great many older people rising from a seat 5 times in a row, as fast as they safely can, and afterward watched those same people over the years that followed. What they found is sobering, and I give it to you straight. The folks who were slowest to rise, the bottom quarter, had roughly double the rate of dying in the years that came after compared to the folks who rose the quickest. When careful people gathered up nearly 60 separate studies of this kind, following hundreds of thousands of older folks between them, that same pattern held firm. There is a common mark researchers point to: that taking longer than about 11 seconds to rise 5 times has been tied to a greater chance of an early death. And there is a cousin to this test, getting down to the floor and back up, where the lowest scorers carried several times the risk of the highest. Now, I have to be a careful man here, because this is exactly the sort of number a person could frighten you with, and I will not do that. Hear me plainly. That slow rise is a signal, and no more than a signal. What it tells of is your whole body strength and your power, the quickness with which your legs can answer when you ask them. Rising fast from a chair takes strength, and it takes snap, and those two things happen to travel close alongside good years. So the number is a messenger, not a judge. And this next part matters more than any of the fear. That signal moves. It is not carved in stone. When you train the very thing the test measures, by rising from your chair day after day, the number changes for the better, and what it is quietly telling you about the rest of you changes right along with it. You are not reading a fixed fate off a stopwatch. You are watching a thing you can shift with your own two legs. Let me clear up one honest confusion while we are here, because I know what a lot of good people are already thinking. They are thinking, but Noah, I walk. I walk every day, and walking is a fine thing, one of the best plain things you can do for a body, and I would never tell a soul to quit. But I have to be truthful with you about what gentle walking does and does not do. A steady, easy walk mostly holds on to the strength you already have. It keeps the flame lit. What it does not do, on its own, is call the body to build new strength back where strength has gone. For that, the muscle has to meet real resistance. It has to push hard against a load that pushes back. That is the rising from the chair. It is climbing a real flight of stairs instead of hunting for the ramp. It is walking up a hill until your legs feel it, carrying your own sack of feed instead of asking the young fellow to, crouching to your work in the garden and rising again on your own steam. Effort is the thing. The body only troubles itself to build what it has good reason to believe it will need again. Ask it plainly, with honest effort, and it builds. Keep the ask too soft, and it only maintains, and in time it lets go. Now to the feeding. You cannot build a barn without lumber, and you cannot build muscle without the plain building food, which is protein. And here the loud voices tend to skip right past the single most important thing an older person ought to know. So I mean to plant my feet on it. An older body needs more of that building food than a younger one does. More, not less. This runs against every instinct, because we are all told to eat lighter as we age. But the muscle of an older body has gone a little hard of hearing. Feed a young man a modest portion of good protein and his muscle hears the call loud and clear and gets straight to building. Feed that very same portion to an older body, and the muscle hears it faint and muffled and does far less with it. The researchers have a stiff term for this, but the plain picture is a knock at a door where the person inside has grown hard of hearing. You have to knock harder to be heard, which means the older body needs a bigger helping of protein at a sitting to get the same building done. In one careful study, a younger man's muscle was fully satisfied by a smaller serving, while the older men needed nearly double that amount at a meal before their muscle would truly answer. And there is a reason the old advice leads folks astray on this. The plain baseline number for protein, the one in the old books, was set long ago to cover just about everybody under a single figure, young and old alike. A number built for everybody was never built for the harder ask of an aging muscle. So what do you knock with? Plain, honest food, the same food that has been on these farm tables for 200 years. Whole eggs, and I mean the whole egg, yolk and all, none of this throwing the best part away. Good meat, fish, milk and cheese from the milk house, beans in the pot. As a rough rule and only as general information, the research bodies have quietly moved the older person's target up above the old standard. The old books figured about 1/3 of a gram of protein for every pound you carry. The newer thinking, for older folks, lands nearer half a gram a pound, and higher still when you are doing the real work we have been talking about. And that is the pairing that matters most of all. The building food and the honest effort together beat either one standing alone. Eat the protein and never work the leg, and much of it goes to waste on a muscle you never asked to build. Work the leg and never feed it, and you are asking a barn to raise itself without lumber in the yard. Together, they are the whole answer. If you have been hungry for plain talk with no bottle to sell you at the end of it, there is more here every week, and you would be welcome to follow along. Now I come to the part of this that I care about more than any other, the part that makes this channel what it is. I am going to give you an honest ledger. I will tell you, plainly, where some of the popular advice is real, where it is only half real, and where it is mostly a way to sell you a bottle. Because you deserve the true weight of each thing, not the loud version. Start with good fats and olive oil, which get talked about as though a spoonful were medicine. Here is the honest measure of it. Good fats do real good. The oil helps your body take up certain goods out of your food that need fat to come along with them. And the fat in oily fish does help calm the low, smoldering kind of inflammation that rides along with age. Worth having on the table, both of them, truly. But hear this squarely. No fat on this earth builds a leg. Not olive oil, not fish oil, not any of them. They are good foods doing good work in their own lane. Do not let anyone dress a spoon of oil up as a muscle medicine, because it is no such thing, and the muscle is built by the food and the work I already named. Next, greens and beets for the blood flow. This one is a real and honest good, only a modest one, and it has been oversold past what it can carry. Leafy greens and beets are rich in a natural something that your body turns into a small breath that tells your blood vessels to open wider and let the blood run freer. As we age, the body makes less of that opener, and the falling off shows up worst of all down in the legs, right where we need the flow most. And there is careful work showing that concentrated beet juice actually widened the main artery down the leg in older folks and helped the working muscle get its oxygen back quicker after effort. That is a real finding, and I will not take it from you. But mind the size of it. This is a helper, no more. It feeds and waters the working muscle so the muscle can do its job better, though it is not itself the thing that builds the leg. And most of the good results came from strong, concentrated doses, not a garden salad. Eat your greens and your beets. Just know them for the supporting hand they are, not the builder. And now the one I most want to set straight, because this is where the selling gets furthest ahead of the truth. Night leg cramps. That deep, seizing knot in the calf that yanks you out of a dead sleep. You have surely seen the promises. Take this magnesium or eat these greens and the cramps will stop. I have to tell you plainly that this claim is not well supported, and it pains me a little to say it, because I wish it were that simple. When the best trials ever run on this were gathered and weighed all together, the answer for the ordinary night cramps of older folks was that magnesium gave no meaningful help. It came out about even with a sugar pill. So eat your greens by all means for all the real reasons I have already given you. But do not let anyone promise you they will quiet your night cramps, and do not spend good money on a bottle sold on that promise, because the promise is standing on air. Last in the ledger, sunlight, and what the skin makes from it. This one is real, and it fits the plain old way like a hand in a glove. A true, deep shortage of the sunshine vitamin genuinely weakens a body's muscle. And here is the cruel piece of it. It wastes the very same quick fibers that plain aging wastes, the fast ones, the ones that fire first to catch you when your foot slips on the ice. Older folks are commonly short of it, more than you would guess. In some careful counts, better than half of the older people looked at were found running low, especially those who keep indoors or live where winter is long. Set a real shortage right, and it can help a body's strength and its steadiness on its feet, and the fix costs nothing at all. A little morning sun on your skin, the way a farmer has always taken it, stepping out into the early light to start the chores. But be honest with yourself about it, the same as with the rest. It is a fix for a shortage. It is not a booster to be piled on top when you already have plenty. Filling a well that has run dry brings the water back. Pouring more into a full well only runs it over the top. Do you see the thread running through that whole ledger? Every single one of those things, the fats, the greens, the beets, the vitamin, is a bottle or a bag someone can hand you across a counter and take your money for. And so those are the things that get shouted from the rooftops. Meanwhile, the two things that truly build a leg back, the two things at the very center of everything the researchers found, are using your legs and eating plain food. And nobody, anywhere, can sell you those. There is no bottle-labeled effort. There is no bag of standing up out of your chair. A whole egg and a hard job of work turn nobody a profit worth the shouting. So the real foundation goes quiet, unadvertised, while some miracle oil or powder gets all the noise, for the plain reason that the miracle is the thing there is money in. I do not say this as some dark plot against you. It is simpler and more forgivable than that. It is only what there is to sell. The old wisdom was never proven wrong. It just never had a thing to sell. And so it fell silent while the louder voices talked. Now let me plant one firm post before I send you off. Because a careful man owes you this. Everything I have told you is about the slow, ordinary weakening that creeps in gently over years, and about the honest work that answers it. That is a different animal entirely from trouble that comes on sudden. Say a strength leaves you all at once, or a leg gives way beneath you out of nowhere. Maybe a new numbness settles in, or a weakness lands on one side and not the other, or you take a real fall. That is not my ground, and it is not a thing to sit home puzzling over by the wood stove. That is a doctor's ground, and I want you to have it seen, to promptly, not next month. I am a farmer telling you what I have learned about the plain old way of keeping a body strong. I am not, and will never be, your doctor. Please do not mistake me for one. So here is the one small thing I would have you carry out of this and actually do this very week, because a truth you never act on is worth about as much as a plow left in the shed. Go to a plain, sturdy chair. Sit down in it. Now fold your arms across your chest or let your hands lie loose in your lap and stand up using only your legs, no pushing off. Ease back down with control and rise again. Do a small set of them, a handful of rises, a few times spread across your day whenever you pass a chair. That is your leg building, free and quiet, asking your body to answer the way those frail elders asked theirs. Then, just the once, do this. Set a clock where you can watch it, and time yourself standing up 5 times, as quick as you safely can, hands off. Whatever the number is, do not fear it and do not judge it. Simply write it down and keep it. It is your honest starting mark, the plain measure of where your legs stand this week. Then keep at your daily rises, and after a good while, time your 5 again. Watch the number come down. Watch it with your own eyes. Because that shaky-legged year we started with, that pause at the bottom of the stairs, was the body's own plain way of asking to be put back to work. Feed it honest food, ask it honest effort, give it a little time, and the legs answer. The same as they always have, the same as they were made to. It was never a road that ran only downhill. It was a road that ran whichever way you chose to walk it. I am Noah Yoder, and I am glad you sat with me a while. If this plain kind of talk suits you, stay on and walk along with us. There is always more of the old way to go over, and no bottle at the end of any of it. Take care of those legs. They have a good many miles left in them yet.